I mean, if I may, just last night I had a dinner, sort of Christmas dinner with a group of friends who are pretty big screenwriters. Some of them have made, major shows that and others are just like movie screenwriters. We're just friends. We get together every few months. We got together at the Smokehouse, a restaurant, if anybody knows it. It's up in Burbank, near Disney and near Warner Brothers and all that. And so we were talking about this issue because these are people mostly in their older 50s, some of them 60s, right? But established showrunners, pretty big people, a lot of them much more significant than I am, right? And they were talking about how the directives they're getting in their process now is, essentially this. It's Trump won, let's pull back and give America what it wants. That's pretty much what they said. Most of them are not fans of Mr. Trump, as you can imagine. It's Hollywood, right? But they said pretty much it's like, I think we need to be pulling back to storylines that apparently most Americans want. And it took a few years to convince Hollywood that most Americans maybe want more centrist storytelling and away from some of the politicized storytelling, away from sexualized stuff for children. And one of the interesting comments that one comedy writer made was that he's developing sort of a Will and Grace type comedy that's getting a lot of attention. And the executives were like, you know what? This is good. LGB is good. We don't want any more T stuff right now.
So they're sort of not compatible when it gets down to it.
But that's a whole other conversation. But yeah,
and this gentleman, it's sort of the conversation is but return to interest. We had Will and Grace and Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. We were on the right path. It's time to
and people went with it. Conservatives went with it. Became part of Middle America. Nobody really had a problem with Will and Grace, right? And all that stuff. And so that's a conversation that we're going back in some ways to almost sort of 90s values or early 2000 values. And that's the notes they're getting from executives now who are openly saying, look, I'm sorry, guys. I know it's just the way it is. We're going to have to cast white male. We actually had this conversation at lunch today. I was talking to a friend of mine, big producer, and we're talking to this young Native American woman who I'm mentoring on a project. I introduced them together. We had lunch, and we were talking about the fact that the show that we want to develop together has a Native American character, but we're going to have to partner them with a white male because now the executive's like, yeah, I think we need to start bringing white males back.
So no more male and pale is stale. That's out the window.
Is that gone?
That's the conversations that I've had in 48 hours. 2 different dinner last night, lunch today. People are openly talking about the directives they're getting from executives at the studios is, yeah, guys, I think we're in a place where we got to maybe roll it back a little bit. Let's calm it down. And before that was sort of hush hush. Now it's actual notes being given saying, no, I think you need the character to be a white male if you're going to be able to sell this. And tease out. So, okay.
Ooh. Wow. 70s rock fan Raid. Welcome, guys. Glad to see you here. I wanted to ask Moxie, as a parent, or what has it been like for you? And are you more likely to be trusting of media with your daughter now going forward?
It's not on her radar yet, but it is a hopeful thing. It would be nice to go back to more of the vibe of when we were growing up, mid, late 90s, early 2000s. It just felt normal, and a return back to normalcy would be great because it's been off the frickin' rails for years now. Cameron, I actually had a question for you, piggybacking off what you just said. As far as what's the reception like from the team members that are getting these notes from higher ups saying we need to roll it back? It's okay to have white males. How are they receiving that?
Can I be honest? It's actually like a sigh of relief. At the dinner last night, a lot of people were like, oh, I can finally do this again. I was like, I don't have to do this because everyone was doing this because they're afraid to be fired. And people are like, oh, you're all woke. It's like, dude, I just don't want to get fired, man. So this character is going to be this identity and that. I don't want to do this stuff. I just want to make it.
Shout out to Film Threat and Alaning and Chris Gore. That was the original thing we heard, is when you separate the crazy wackos that were Me Tooing everyone and putting in their woke partners, a lot of people just didn't want to get fired. They were walking on eggshells. They were going along to get along. That's why the other, when they were forced to choose a sexuality, other went up staggering because everyone just fucking chose other and keep your head down and try to survive it. And here we are. Now, some would point out, and I had those people taking a stand a little bit earlier, we wouldn't be in the mess we're all in. But that being said, better late than never.
You're not in a position to take a stand. I'm not. You know what? I've taken stands. I was the head writer of the Tron animated series, which you can all watch on Disney Plus now. And I survived 6 months until I took a stand.
Yeah.
24 hours later, I was packing my bags and leaving the Disney lot. You don't take no stands. You look.
No, I'm actually glad you did that. You have a bit of a soul. Thank for Bo DeMeo, who took his stand, and it's the result it was. But at least he has some authenticity, and I'll follow him. Got to take stands, baby, no matter the cost, because the support will come from somewhere. We will support them.
So we heard the news about Coogler, right? That left. He's leaving.
Ryan, or the other
Ryan
guy.
Coogler.
That's a different guy.
That's the other guy.
No, that's you're talking about the exec that just left.
Yeah,
from Marvel. Yeah, that's a different fella.
Yeah, well, that guy, he just left because he's finishing up Black Panther and I forget the other film. Announcing he's left. Do you think he's being
Nate
told?
Moore is his name. Nate Moore.
So do you think he's being told that his run is over and they're just publicly saying he's leaving, or do you think he's like leaving because of the changing of the guard?
Everyone gets fired. Nobody leaves. Nobody wants to leave. You got a job, you keep that job.
So he got fired. Yeah.
This entire industry is musical chairs. You lose that chair, the odds of you getting the chair again are 30% at best. Right?
By the way,
at best.
Polly, hi. I'm on with Chris every Monday, so you can just come on Versus. You can disagree with me there, and we can have a fight. And Chris can put his big screen and have fun while you yell at me. We gotta take stands, dude. Sorry. You get fired no matter what. Folks. If you don't take a stand, you get fired because all your shows get canceled because we hate them when you don't watch it because you voted with the agenda. So either way, the jobs are going away.
I'm going to go crash at Badger's couch.
Go ahead, bro.
Taking bets.
I love the
Badger
big talk here until I show up at his door. Dude, I took your advice.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. Oh, we can get Paulie on here another time. You guys can definitely yell at each other all you want.
He's fine. You can just disagree with me and then say your desire.
Well, Paulie's great. He's a close
friend.
I actually hang out at his house all the time, and we
cool, you sleep on his couch
Friday mornings. Yeah, no, he's got a nice house. I'll definitely crash there.
Yeah.
But they have ejected so many of the quality people who are actually creative behind the scenes, like the John Lasseters. They've moved. Well, now he's not gone anymore, but they've shipped out how many people that we've never heard of that are like that. Now, how do you replace those people? Because they've been doing it with, like, do you have any friends who wouldn't mind taking a job? You know, and that's kind of been to check those extra boxes. That's from what I've heard. And how do you replace all those people with people who actually want to put out good stories and are capable of doing that?
You don't replace them. Somebody like Lasseter, they tried to replace him. I mean, these are people with individual talents. Lasseter just happens to be a genius. Right? You know, you just can't reproduce that guy. Feige seemed to be genius for a while, and that kind of petered out, right? And so I discovered maybe he wasn't the genius in that environment. Maybe there are others around him that were a bit of the genius, right? But Lasseter was uniquely a genius, and it was a time, he got called out for hugging people, and people like compared to Harvey, did he really do a terrible crime? And he's back. I mean, just people, the way people Hollywood now they just don't talk about what happened. It was like that whole era of like 2016 to 2020. It's like we just don't talk about it. Everything it was like the wild night at the frat party. We just don't talk about it.
That's the Jennifer Lee one. So it's sort of the case of like pushing someone with talent that had a bunch of talented people that then all got forced out, and now you got to bring those people back at least. The Tumblr hires weren't doing the job.
That's what I'm asking. Like, how many people who we've never heard of, who aren't John Lasseter, has that happened to? And how do you get those people who probably had good ideas too back into it, or replace the people you replace them with?
If they don't have Lasseter's power, it's very hard. Like I said, it's musical chairs. I had dinner a couple of weeks ago with an executive at a studio that I showed a TV series to. He was the exec that bought it, and then he got fired. And he was the smartest guy in the group, right? And then the project stalled without him championing it. Stalled. And this guy is brilliant. He one day should be running a studio, but it's been a year and he hasn't been able to get a new job. And he's a talented studio executive, right? And after another year, he's going to be out of the game if he doesn't land. That's the game, There's no guarantees in this town at all. That's why it's so frightening. Everyone is constantly. There's not even greed. Everyone's a place just of fear. You're not even motivated by greed. You just want to hold on to what you got. And if you get more than that, that's magical.
Yeah, that's scary. And then how many people even want to come back after that? I know, like, a lot of people that like, I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of the way the industry works. It's like, is that thing. It's like you're only good as your last movie. It's like you're always operating from a place of fear of losing your position, fear of holding on to what you have. It's like, it's very stressful. That's why I really didn't want to keep continuing on in it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's very draining. And again, as you get older and you see the cycle doesn't get better unless you win the lottery and you are acknowledged as someone inside the inner circle, like a Lasseter. But even Lasseter couldn't hold it. He lost it and he has to regain it, right? So this is exhausting. it's just exhausting because there's no rhyme or reason or justice to it. It's just whatever happens. Now you have a job, now you don't have a job, and maybe you won't be back in again.